Awesome. All right. I think we are all set on this recording. So we will go ahead and get started. My name is Paige. I'm going to be doing your mock interview today about Mr. Tommy. Can I have your name for the mock interview?
Yeah, my name is Kira Byers.
Perfect. All right. And can I have Tommy's date of birth for the interview?
April 6th, 2020.
Perfect. A cute little 4-year-old, sweet
Yeah.
little Tommy. Awesome. Like I said, my name is Paige Rakowski, and we're going to be going over just some background information about Tommy, who he is, and the main concerns of what made you want to come and receive ABA services and what I can do to help with Tommy's ASD symptomology and how I can make your life go better, as well as his life at home and his community and all that fun stuff. All right. So, how would you describe Tommy's language abilities? Would you describe him as nonverbal, one word utterness, short, just fluent sentences, or full fluency?
It's definitely short sentences. He can string together a few words
Okay.
and identify what he's asking for, but it's not full sentences.
Okay. String together a few words, but no full sentences. Perfect. Would you describe his vocal output? Like you can understand, does he have any sort of lisp or anything like that? Does he mumble?
I would say it's pretty clear.
Okay, cool. Awesome. That will help with some communication options that we can run through and stuff like that. Does he attend any school right now? I know he's only 4, but I didn't know if you got him started in pre-K or all that cool fun stuff.
Not yet, no.
Okay, cool. Are you looking to start school within the fall?
We'll see. We kind of just wanted to see what you guys said and figure out if that was a good next step for him and if he'd be ready for that.
Sounds good. That's school preparedness is definitely something we can talk about and see where he's at in terms of those skill levels that he would need to have in order to be part of a school behavior. That's definitely some things that we can work on. How would you describe Tommy's play skills? And
Uh,
does he have any preferred toys or leisure activities that he likes to do at home?
yeah, definitely he mostly likes to play by himself. When he tries to play with others tends to be where there is some issues. Um, Toy
What
cars.
kind of issues with peers?
Just if somebody tries to use the toy that he wants, he gets really frustrated by it, tends to throw a tantrum. He can play by himself for hours. That's not a problem. It's just we're working on sharing and it's not going very well.
Okay. Understandable. I mean, I would never want to share my own toys when I was that age. What's mine is mine. But that's something that will be hugely important for him going forward. What kind of specific toys could he spend hours playing with?
He really likes his toy cars, toy trucks, so we have a bunch of sets for those. And like building things like Legos is also something that he really enjoys.
Awesome. Have you noticed any specific tendency that he's more reluctant to sharing with certain toys other than compared to others?
Legos doesn't tend to be as bad because there's more pieces, but if he gets attached to a specific car or truck that day, it does not go down well if somebody else tries to play with the same one.
Okay.
He generally has like 4 that he rotates between as being like his favorites.
Okay.
But on a specific day, if somebody tries to play with the wrong one, he's not having it. So,
Okay. Does he prefer any sort of like snacks? Like he is a huge goldfish fan, candy, those kinds of things. That's his like diet. Is he very specific, or is he pretty eats whatever comes into his mouth kind of guy?
I would definitely say he prefers like salty things,
Ooh,
um, but he doesn't really care about any type of cracker he will eat.
dude, you got me reminded thinking about some Lay's potato chips and how good
Mhm.
those sounds. Perfect. Does he have any diet restrictions regarding allergies or stuff like that that I should be aware of regarding if we decide to honor his request with candy or stuff like that that I should be aware of?
If he eats a lot of dairy, it upsets his stomach, but he can have some and it'll be fine.
Okay. Limited dairy sounds cool. Okay. Does he take any medications for the dairy intake or any other outside of medication?
No, we tried it and we found out that it's just the amount. And if
Okay.
he doesn't have too much in a day, he's usually doesn't have an issue with it. So that's
Awesome.
easier than trying to get him to take a lactate every single time. So
Perfect. That is a lot of awesome, helpful background information. For this part of the interview, we're going to focus more about what we want, what his problem behavior is, some things that prevent him from interacting with peers, and why we're focusing on ABA services at this time, and also try to see if we can talk about why he might be engaging in these kinds of behaviors. So what kind of problem behaviors does Tommy engage in?
he definitely has a tendency to throw tantrums. Um, it starts with a bit of crying and then he throws himself to the floor. If it gets really bad, he'll start yelling. Sometimes he'll throw other toys if he's trying to get somebody to give him his toy back, but it just depends. Like the longer it goes on, the worse it gets.
Okay.
So it definitely is progressive, which
Okay.
is hard because if it doesn't resolve right away, it just gets worse.
Okay. So it seems like there are some, like there's a sequence to which like the behaviors progress. So for
Yeah.
like a precursor behavior, it might be some small crying, and then it progresses farther with the most intensity being throwing and falling to the floor.
Yeah.
Okay. Is he quick to get out of it, or does he usually stay in it for quite a bit?
That entirely depends on whether or not he gets the toy back. So
Okay.
he will
So
usually cry for about 10 minutes after, like his system just needs to calm down.
okay.
Regardless of when he gets the toy back, like there's about 10 minutes afterwards
Okay.
where he just has to like let it work through his body essentially. Um, yeah.
That sounds like it can be frustrating sometimes. Seeing a sad kid is never very, very heartwarming to a mom. So definitely want to help him work with some coping skills and all that fun stuff, and seeing we can find some better ways for Tommy to communicate. What is your most concerned problem behavior that you would like to focus on?
Definitely that crying when somebody, it's not that anybody will like take his toys very often. It's just if somebody uses the one that he was using like 20 minutes before, he freaks out. And so like that initial crying that happens every single time is like really a concern for me.
Okay. We just want to nip that precursor so that way it doesn't get any farther.
Yeah, I just worry about him going to school because I know that other kids are going to want to play with similar toys. And that's a really big concern because kids don't do a lot academically in kindergarten. They do play a lot. And he doesn't really have any coping skills for that right now.
That's good. So we want to reduce those tantrums and increase those coping skills. Have you ever practiced any coping skills with him, like any deep breaths or maybe hugs or squeezes?
Yeah, he doesn't love a lot of like physical touch.
Okay.
If he's sad about something, then he's okay with it. But if he's upset, it's not a time to do that. I've tried to work on the deep breathing with him. I've tried to model it, the whole concept of like if you model it, then their breathing will follow. Hide that. I'm about the only person he will even attempt that with. If like my parents try it, he doesn't care. Like he doesn't really care about if his babysitter does it. So I have to be there, which is really hard.
Okay.
Since I'm a single mom, I have to work. So he's not with me all day long. So I've tried the deep breathing. We've tried swapping toys. Like if he has two favorites in a day, I've tried like giving him the other one. It doesn't really help. So I've tried a few different things, but they don't seem to make him feel better. He doesn't seem to have interest in that as like a thing to try. So it's really hard.
He's a strong mama's boy, wants his attention. So it looks like he's going to need someone who he feels comfortable around, some strong rapport, and that will definitely allow him to get rolling into some other options there.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's make here. So we talked about his intensity with the low range being like some small crying, maybe a few tears. for his low range, and then medium we'll get back up to maybe a little bit louder volume. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Volume increases, and then what's the highest intensity you've ever seen it?
He threw a toy at the wall pretty hard one time when it took like half an hour for somebody else to give back a toy.
Okay.
He was playing with his cousin,
Okay.
and his cousin didn't understand why, when he took a toy that Tommy wasn't even playing with at that point, that it was a problem. And so he got upset, and the both of them were just like feeding off of each other essentially. They're very similar in age. This was like a year ago. So that one was pretty long in comparison. Like it was like half an hour of his cousin not giving this toy back.
Mm.
And I was babysitting them, so I didn't have another adult to help me.
Yeah.
And he like threw the toy at the wall really hard and like screamed. And that one was a little rough.
Yeah, that can be hard to navigate by yourself. And so we definitely want to help out little Tommy because it seems like he's got some big feelings. And it's okay to have big feelings. We just want to help him learn how to navigate those feelings and what we can do around something. So we talked about how it's usually related to sharing. Sharing can be a trigger for his behaviors. Are there any other things that you notice usually relate to the behavior?
I don't think so. Like it's worse when it's just him playing with somebody else when it's silent. If there's like music or TV, sometimes that will help him like not realize that they're playing with that toy.
Okay.
Like if he's a little bit overstimulated and there's like a lot of things going on, like he won't always realize. But if it's like silent in the room, he will like immediately look over and realize that it's happening and freak out.
Okay. Really quiet. So he's very in tune with what he's doing.
Yeah, his ears are really good, and so he hears everything that's going on. And if he notices, you can't get his attention away from it.
Okay. So he tends to little fixate on those moments, and that seems to really drive it going. Okay, so sharing when it's quiet around, that's when the behavior seems most likely to occur. Do you notice any time during the day? Is it related primarily in the morning when he's just waking up or just going to bed, or is it more around consistently through the day?
I'd say like honestly, in the late afternoon before he eats dinner, it gets really bad because if he's
Okay.
hungry, he is very cranky.
Okay.
After dinner, we have a pretty set routine. He doesn't have a lot of additional time to play. We have dinner, we do bath time, we read together. He's not playing as much in like at night because that's our time together when I'm home.
Okay.
So he's distracted and like doing other things. But I find that like in the afternoon before we eat dinner and he's like hungry, he's been awake all day, like that's his worst time.
Getting some hangry a little bit, tired and hungry. But I think that it's really solid to have a nice routine. Kids are really easy to pick up on that. They know what's coming next, and that's something that's huge that allows these kids to adjust and understand what's going on. So that's super awesome that you're already cranking on a routine, which will also help him understand a school routine going on later, which will really get those things going, which I think he would really appreciate, it seems like.
Like I've tried to give him snacks in the afternoon so he doesn't get hangry, but then he doesn't really eat his dinner. And if he doesn't eat his dinner, then he's hungry at like 9 p.m. And it's just, if I keep the routine and he gets a little testy in the afternoon, bedtime is still way better than trying to give him food too early and then he doesn't eat his whole dinner and it's just a whole thing.
Yeah, I completely understand that, man. I feel like by the time I get dinner, I'm shut down and ready for the end of the night. So that's definitely something that we can work with. And especially with school, they're going to have a designated breakfast time, lunch time. They're not going to be able to eat food throughout the day. So that's really solid that he's got that basis that this is the time we eat. So that way he jumps right into that school routine too. If his routine is ever broken, does that usually relate to any issues, or like if you guys are going out of town or something like that, he doesn't have that routine, does it result
Yeah,
in more
he is
issues?
very routine oriented, which is why I keep the routine so well, because he does really well when we have our routine. It kind of is a vicious cycle, because if, like you said, if we travel, or like if I have to go to an event and his grandparents come in and like put him to bed and watch him at night, like that is really hard, because it's not his routine. He loves them and he loves to see them, but if I'm not there and they're doing the routine instead, that doesn't jive with the way he wants the routine to go. Um, so it's kind of a double-edged sword. Like, it's been really helpful to work on that routine with him, but I find if we don't, if something changes, he doesn't respond well.
So the adjustment of people during that routine and like the timing, like if say you have like a late dinner closer to towards 7, that seems to mesh things out a little bit too.
Yeah, 6 o'clock on the dot is when he is ready for dinner. So,
Okay. 6 o'clock ready for dinner. What time do you guys usually eat lunch at?
um,
Or does that vary?
that's a little bit more varied because he's doing things during the day. It's like he'll change different activities throughout the day, so that's a little bit better. It's usually sometime between like 12 and 1.
Okay.
It depends on what time he wakes up that morning. Like, I don't want to feed him too close to breakfast, because then the
Yeah.
snack equation
The
of
best with the dinner and all those stuff going
yeah,
on. Yeah,
yeah.
I can only imagine. I would want food constantly on just a speed roll anytime I needed it.
Mhm.
Does the problem behavior occur when it seems like he doesn't get his way, or like when he wants a snack and he's not allowed to have it, or if he wants you but he can't have you, or he wants a certain toy but it might be far away on a shelf or something like that?
Yeah, he's pretty determined on what he likes. He knows those things very well, and um, substitutes don't really do it for him.
Knows what he wants
Sometimes
and
it's the color of a car. Like, he knows which cars are which.
oh, okay.
Um, so like swapping different colors of a car doesn't always work. If it's not like, if they're not both in his like favorites of that day.
How often does his preferences change? When you said that the 4 favorites, how often does that usually change? Is it like a weekly thing, a monthly thing?
Um, every couple weeks. It's not like a
Okay.
really extended time, but he's not switching things like daily.
Okay.
He goes in little bursts.
So when we get to that, when we see him starting to cry, what is your initial reaction to him crying?
I usually try to ask him what he's looking for.
Okay.
What do you want, buddy? Because if I can figure that out, I can figure out, if I know what he wants, I can understand why he's upset if he doesn't have that thing already, essentially. If I don't know what he wants, I'm just confused.
Okay. How is he able to communicate with you what he wants? Does he verbally say it? Does he point or gesture with his body?
He usually points and he'll do like blue car, red car. Like, he'll tell me in a very short version of like, he can identify the thing, and then he'll usually point. By this time, if he's crying, it's a little blubbery, but he can still get it out. So
Okay, that's good. That's good that he's got like some communication boundaries, that because that can be very generalized, blue car, everyone can be able to hear blue car and get that idea. So we could definitely shape that up to be like, I want the blue car, or maybe I don't want the blue car. Or since he's very specific on the type, we could change car to truck or sports car or bike. So that way, if you give him the wrong blue car, does that seem to make the problem a little bit worse if it's not that specific one he wants?
if he knows that I'm trying to get it for him, he's usually okay.
Okay.
I don't know if I haven't asked my parents or the babysitter that question, so that might be different for them. But if he knows I'm trying to help him, it won't make things worse. It doesn't make things better.
Okay.
but he won't lose it. If I'm trying to tell him, no, your cousin has the blue car, that doesn't work. He understands that is not getting it to him. So
Okay, gotcha.
yeah.
Is there anything that you do, like say he breaks his blue car and you know that's not going to be something? Do you do anything to distract him from something that he may not have that he might want, or something like that to try to reroute it before it gets to the point of being an escalation or a tantrum?
The only times that he's broken something, I've generally had a replacement within the week because he's I try not to buy like the limited edition toys because if that goes missing, we are screwed. So I mean, he'll have a couple rough days, but like he usually has like one or two things at a time. So if I can give him the other thing,
Okay.
it will be okay. It may not
Okay.
go the greatest, but like he can deal. He just might have a few rough days, and I've just learned buy things you can replace because if it breaks, like if it's broken enough that I can still give it to him and he can figure out that it's broken, it's okay. If it's broken, then I have to throw it out or like the dog chewed it up. Gets a little concerned if I can't show him why he can't use it.
Okay. I see that. Seems like he's very receptive of other people and what's going on. And that's really cool that he's able to register those things. And I think that's a really solid foundation on something that he's got a lot of really awesome skills that we can work with and really just expand on that language and that communication. And he's very receptive of other people, which is really cool. He seems like he's like the sweetest little dude. What do you think he is trying to communicate when he really starts to cry?
I want that thing.
I want it. I want it. It's mine. Give it
Yeah.
back. Outside of sharing, is there any other like common things that are going on where he would engage in crying that's unrelated to like him being hurt or anything like that? Could be
Um,
around food. We talked a lot about cars. Could it be anything related to food, or if you were busy and you couldn't hang out with him that moment?
yeah, he doesn't really understand like scheduling barriers.
Okay.
Like if I have to go to an event or like for work, or if I need to like pick up a late shift, or if I'm just trying to go see a friend, he doesn't really understand scheduling barriers, like why I can't be home with him,
Mhm.
which makes the whole like break of routine thing worse.
Yeah.
Generally, he's okay with food, but if I try to give him something he doesn't like, it's not only that he won't eat it, but he like freaks out and like borderline won't eat the other things on his plate. And he's really picky with certain foods. Like he won't eat bananas. Like
No
it's not
bananas.
he's like it's not just green things. It's like very
Yeah.
specific. He has a texture thing, I think. Like he won't do tomatoes.
The mushy.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about baked beans. I don't like the mush.
No, he won't eat a bean at
You
all.
like a crunch, a big
Yeah.
crunchy guy.
Hence the crackers.
Make a special note: crunch, not mush.
Like he'll eat a cucumber because it's crunchy, but he won't eat a banana.
Okay. Interesting. Very cool.
It's very texture focused for him.
Okay. Do you get any impression that he's receiving any like personal feedback that he likes? Like some kids, when they're yelling, they like the loud sound, or if they're flapping their hands, they like the way the breeze feels. Do anything he's personally feeling in his body that he likes out of any of the throwing the toys? Does he like the power that he has out of it? Does he like falling onto the floor, stuff like that? Do you think he personally gets anything out of it, the way his body is feeling out of these emotions?
I'm not sure. I guess that's a question for you guys as the experts. I'm sure there's something. I just haven't quite figured out what that is.
And it seems like he doesn't really like want hugs. So when he is upset, he probably won't be crying to try to get you to give him a hug because he doesn't like that. He'd rather prefer his space.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
it seems like he's looking more towards a tangible, something that he can hold on to rather
Mhm.
than some feedback from himself.
Right. Like if I give him a hug when he's like mad about something, he's like, that's not what I wanted.
Okay.
If he's sad about something, like he'll take the comfort because I think that like he feels it differently. But if he's upset, he's like, this is not meeting my need right now. This is not the thing that I wanted. And I don't know, maybe he feels like I'm like placating him or something, like trying to replace it.
Okay.
Um, and so he doesn't like, do not hug him when he's mad because it
Okay.
doesn't work.
Has he
It
ever
just makes
tried
every
to aggress towards you or slap towards you, push you out of the way, anything like that?
sometimes he'll like and like not aggressively, but like sometimes he'll like hit my leg or my arm to like get my attention of like I want that thing. I don't think he realizes like the power of his little arms.
Okay.
It doesn't hurt me. It's just like harder than you would think.
Okay.
Like I've never ever had a bruise from him or anything. He just like he really wants to make sure that I understand. He wants my attention.
Okay. Sounds good. So it seems like he's got some solid communication that he's got. So, based on what we've talked about, why do you think he cries and throws and flaps?
He can identify what he wants. I don't think he's quite figured out how to couldn't like not control, but like deal with the amount of wanting of something.
Okay.
Like if you really, really, really want something, like he can't hold that in. It just like comes out of him.
Okay. So it seems like a strong access, like he wants access to a certain thing. He's not
Mhm.
doing it because he feels good about it. He's not doing it because he wants your attention. He just wants his thing. Or he doesn't want to get away. Like if you're trying to tell him that he's got to sit at the table, he's not doing it to try to avoid the table. He just wants a specific thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes when he's throwing fits with like my parents or like our babysitter, and I mean, I have pretty much the same babysitter every time because he's gotten really comfortable with her. It's a lot easier if it's just the same person. I don't have to explain everything over and over again. Um, I feel like sometimes he just throws tantrums because he's mad about the routine, but then it goes back to like he wants me or he wants like the same thing. So yeah, pretty much.
Okay, sounds good. Do you have any questions for me regarding how this interview went? Anything else that I should know about Tommy before we get started with anything? Any questions about the field or my approach, certain things? I know he's been receiving service for a couple of months. So if you've had any concerns about how his progress is going or any things related to home, whether that would be with the dog or stuff like that.
He's generally pretty good about the dog. She's very lazy, frankly. She doesn't really like get in his space. She's just there if like she wants to be around him, but she's usually like 3 feet away. Like it's
Okay.
quality time, not like personal touch kind of dog.
Okay.
So he's never had an issue with her. They get along really well. She's been around since he was born, so he's very used to her. I guess just uh, I've been concerned about him starting school. And so I'm glad to hear the routine will be helpful for him. But like my main concern is like I don't know if he's going to be ready in the fall, and I need to sign him up
Yeah.
fairly soon. So I guess as soon as you guys figure out like, or like, have you seen kids like him and like had success with getting them into school within the same year?
Well, everything's a kid to kid basis. It's really hard to be able to compare kids. We want every single part of their treatment to be individualized for Tommy and just Tommy only. So that way we're not missing something about Tommy that could relate to his improvement and be a better treatment for him. But from what it sounds like he's got a really solid foundation for those school type settings, of being in a group and stuff like that. So it doesn't sound like he's bothered by having other peers around him and stuff like that with the schedule, and it sounds like a good start. We'll see how things go with related to our schedule. We have a very school-based schedule here at the clinic, so that will allow him to see what other kind of skills that we might need to work on related to school, see if there's any grooming or toileting skills that he might need to knock down before he's able to school, just because teachers aren't able to be able to change him every 2 hours or stuff like that. So we'll see how those things go, but it seems like that he's got some really strong foundation to get him ready to go to school, which I think would be awesome. Even if he started like part-time with us, part-time with school, and slowly eased him into it, we could definitely consider those options also.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, if you don't have any more questions for me, I will let you get back to your busy life of everything that's going on, and make sure you tell Tommy hi for me.
I will.
All right. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too.
Bye.